Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. I hope you're all hanging in there, gang. Remember, if you do need to hear a friendly voice, you can message me anytime, and I'll even jump on a Zoom call with you if you would just like a one-to-one chat with me. If not, remember you can also send me an email, techblogwriter@outlook.com, or DM me on your social channel of choice, because we are all on this unpredictable journey together, and real-life connections in a world of social distancing is more than ever, I think. And a friend of the show, Sarah Elkins, recently told me it should actually be called physical distancing, not social distancing, because we can all socialise with each other through a variety of technology tools, and we can all check in with each other virtually. So forget social distancing. We'll call it physical distancing from now on. I think that sounds much better. But I have noticed that more and more people over here in the UK are going out for a run in the morning, because the only time we're supposed to leave the house is to buy groceries or for one piece of solo exercise a day. So I think more and more people are going to start running just to try and clear their head and also look after themselves a little better. And I do spend a lot of time, probably too much time, on the internet looking up a variety of topics and insights from experts out there. And a company called SE2, which you may have remembered have been on the podcast before, they recently released a survey that discusses the growing impact on wearable technology and what it's having on consumer expectations within the life insurance industry. In fact, that survey found that 85% of US adults would improve their health and fitness habits, but they would expect a lower monthly life insurance premium as a result. So I thought that would be a great opportunity to get them back on this podcast. So I invited SE2's CIO, Vinod Kachroo, back onto this podcast for a deep dive into that report. But enough from me. Let me beam your ears all the way to New Jersey in the US, where Vinod is waiting to speak with us now. So a massive warm welcome back to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do, just for anyone that missed our first conversation?
Sure. I'll be happy to do that, Neil. I'm Vinod Kachroo. I'm the CIO and head of client delivery for a service provider called SE2. We are out of Topeka, Kansas. My role is to truly drive the technology platform. In many ways, based on our company and who I am, we are driving innovation in the life and annuity insurance industry. We are helping transform our client businesses to help them mitigate the risk around their legacy technologies, their complex architectures, and then enable their digital journeys into the newer digital business models for them as well.
And like you said, SE2 is a technology-driven third-party administrator for leading life insurance and annuity providers too. But can you just set the scene and tell everyone about the kind of problems that you're solving for businesses and what it is that makes you guys unique?
Absolutely. So we are a traditional TPA business where we help people, help insurance companies run their closed block businesses on our platform at a much better operating model, much better service model at a much cheaper price point. We are also one of the largest new business players where we help insurance companies launch their new insurance products on our platform in a very agile and in a very short span of time. So we drive a lot of growth in the marketplace as well. So that way we are a growth player. Then we also act as an insurtech in many cases where we are, with our advanced end-to-end digital platform, we are helping a lot of insurance companies go through their digital journeys, whether those journeys are direct to consumer or those journeys are driving efficiency in their traditional distribution models. So we kind of are three companies in one.
And you mentioned those insurance journeys there. I've got to ask, because of the current climate, obviously you're locked down in New York and the business in Kansas, and I'm locked down here in the UK. How is the global pandemic affecting the industry at the moment from what you've seen?
I think we haven't seen a slowdown in the business yet. No. I'm sure there is a potential slowdown in the new business side on our actual open block and closed block service model. I think in many ways, insurance companies are an essential service because in these tough times, we need to make sure that all those retirees who are waiting for that income check coming to them once a month does go back and they get the money on time, because these are trying times as well. So if they are making the phone call and want to run a transaction, we are there for them. So pandemic has also shown us and thrown a lot of new challenges at us, and we very effectively and efficiently have overcome those challenges. We were able to move majority of our technology people globally overnight to work from home. Many of our operations people, some call center people, we are enabling make sure that all our associates have a very reliable environment to work. They feel safe, and we are able to meet and exceed the needs of our customers and their end customers, which are the distributors and the actual policyholders.
And of course, people are from all over the world are working from home right now, and many people trying to keep themselves busy. Or
Yep.
I know here in the UK, one of the only reasons we're allowed to leave the house is once a day for exercise. And I think now more than ever, exercise is so important. And so when I read a recent report by SE2 that stated 85% of US adults alone would improve health and fitness habits just to get a lower monthly health insurance premium, it really highlighted to me just where the market is heading. But can you tell me a little bit about the background behind that report and if that stat surprised you at all?
Absolutely. We SE2 and one of our subsidiaries, Life.io, we did a joint study. We surveyed around 2,000 U.S. adults, and the findings were very reinforcing, as well as there were some surprises there as well. I was personally very surprised in looking at how willing consumers are to share their private data as well as their wellness data, as long as it gives them benefits, whether the benefits are towards better, more personalized insurance products, or those benefits are lower premiums for their insurance coverages, or overall giving them guidance and giving them help in how they can live a better life. So I was personally surprised seeing how willing people are to share the data as long as it is for them and it is for their own benefit.
And one of the things that really stands out is the insurance industry's shift to tailoring coverage offerings to fit those individual insurance and ultimately wellness needs. But can you expand on that?
So I think the industry needed innovation. So we have been working with these traditional, I would say, actuarial models and mortality models, where we put almost all the population into 5 or 6 different brackets and then treated all those brackets the same. I think more and more as you start to get into the digital age and the digital economy, people want to be treated for who they are and their own personal needs. End of the day, 2 needs are constant. Everybody's looking to cover the risk around the mortality risk and the income risk. But then the scenarios are very different. Just because I'm a diabetic may not mean that I'm not staying healthy and I'm the same risk as somebody who's a diabetic and could be a couch potato, gaining weight and really not being in good health. So just because I'm categorized in that big pool, there's a big diversity in that pool. And by the way, what we are now doing with these wellness solutions and more personalized products is, how do I motivate that diabetic to be a healthy individual? How do I motivate that smoker to give up smoking? So these are additional models which are evolving. So when you look at end of the day, what do insurance companies want? Insurance companies want healthy customers. They do not want that claim, right? They do not want people to basically die and then they have to pay a death claim for someone. Think about how the products can become more and more innovative. If I can take the need, like look at the mortality and income needs of people and be able to meet that need at a lower cost point, because overall customer base for me is living a much healthier lifestyle. So those are the newer models which are evolving, and there's a lot of innovation happening in the marketplace around these models. SE2 is right in the middle of those innovations and driving many of those innovations.
And there also seems to be an increasing importance of just creating those digital experiences that consumers expect today and are going to continue to expect in the future as well. I mean, is that what you're seeing? Is that what you're seeing out there?
Absolutely. So I have two girls who go to college, and right now their colleges are closed, and they both have their offices set up. One of my girls chose to work right in front of the bar, and so I had to create some ground rules because she's already 21 plus. And they are all working on Zoom, and they're working in these virtual classrooms. So those kind of individuals, when they come and start to buy insurance products, they are not going to buy it in the traditional old way with somebody sitting across the kitchen table and filling manually a 24-page app. So the digital experiences they are looking for is around the ease of doing business, more personalized for them, once and done. And what that requires is an end-to-end digital architecture, not just a good app on their phone or a good website, and then it takes like 5 days, 7 days, 21 days to run a transaction. They want a transaction completed in 5 minutes or less. And that requires a whole different way of thinking and enabling a new architecture and enabling a big paradigm shift in our industry.
And something else that I found incredibly intriguing, of course, was the role that customer engagement is now playing, and also how gamification has become a huge incentive for consumers to live healthier lifestyles. But again, is that something you can expand on from what you found?
Absolutely. With our subsidiary Life.io, we are very much engaged in that engagement space where, one, we help educate the consumers in what they need to do around a healthy lifestyle, what they need to do around how kind of products they might need at what stages in their life, like different life stages. And at the same time, we have a lot of wellness data, and we customize recommendations for them on things they could be doing to help live a much better and healthy lifestyle. So in the end, there's a few things which happen here. One, we know a lot about them on a personalized basis, so our underwriting models can get much improved and fine-tuned based on their personal data. And the second is we are able to understand what their personalized needs are and being able to give them the right guidance that can lead them towards better outcomes in their own life, not just around the insurance companies. So it's a win-win. The consumer is winning and the insurance company is winning. So if you look at a typical life insurance product and you think about your dad or think about your uncle, or even how we may have bought it. We bought an insurance product. We got the policy bound. The experience was not that great. Took a month or 2 months to get the policy issued based on the face amount of the policy. You had to do a whole lot of medical testing. They had to look at all your medical records. And then once we got the policy, you forget who you bought it from. Once the coverage is there, you're not really looking at it on a day-to-day basis. You're not really in touch with that insurance company anymore. What these models are creating now is you're always in touch, and the insurance company is helping you live a better lifestyle rather than just help meet your life needs when you are not there, right? Or for your loved ones. So it's a very different business model, and I think it's a lot more connected business model as well, which is what you need in today's day and age.
And as someone working right in the heart of this space and being surrounded by all these trends, insights, and all from data there, I'm curious, was there anything in the survey that surprised you at all?
Yeah, I think one of the additional things which surprised me was around millennials. And we looked at the millennials, you look at the mid-market. That is one of the biggest and the largest opportunity as far as I know, which is a very much an untapped market, okay? And I was very surprised with hearing from millennials that they all want to buy life insurance. I thought they wouldn't care about it as much, but they do. There's few things they are looking help for. They don't know necessarily how to buy it, and they many times don't know how much to buy. And then when they do decide to buy, they want a suitable experience. That's why this consumer engagement and creating the digital model straight through, like we work with one of the large insurance carriers, and right from first touch point with that consumer, and if you're going through a happy path, you could bind a policy get a payment made, and get a policy printed and have it in your inbox with a link to a secure portal and print your policy on your local printer, 5 to 7 minutes. That is a huge change for an industry which took few weeks to get a basic life insurance policy out of the door just a few years back. So that was very surprising to me to see that millions are very much, they understand the need and the value for having life insurance, and they just don't know how to buy it.
And also, what surprised me is if you look over the last few months, there's been a lot of debates around privacy, around our personal data and everything. And you said yourself earlier that you were surprised how willing people are to share their wellness data. So from that point alone, do you think that wearable technology will continue to enhance those consumer expectations within the life insurance industry? Because they seem happy to share that data for most part.
Absolutely. I think wearables in many ways, like everybody in my household has an Apple Watch, and we compete with each other. We are competing on how many steps we took that day. I think it is creating a much better, healthy lifestyle in a non-intrusive manner in many ways, and then taking that data and sharing it with an insurance company. As long as I see a clear benefit for me, I think more and more, if you look at the next generation, you look at millennials and generation coming behind them, they are worried about the privacy. They are worried about I would say, securing their own personal data. But when they see a real benefit, whether it is on their e-commerce sites where they want to buy things from, or they're always willing to share that data. They're always willing to give that data up. But I think you have to prove to them that the data is not being misused and the data is being used for the proper purpose, and they have a clear benefit coming back from the data. So with the work we have done in the life insurance industry and with the, I would say, technologies like Life.io, we capture a lot of data, but then that data is being used towards the benefit of the end consumer itself. It is helping give much more personalized advice to that end consumer on what they need to do around their own internal needs.
And we are living in a period of uncertainty at the moment. It can feel a little bit overwhelming and difficult to see that light at the end of the tunnel, but we will get through this. And if we look post-COVID-19, what excites you about the future and where the industry is heading?
I think it's a very exciting industry to be in. It's an industry which is going through. So when you look at insurance has not been as innovative and as adaptive in adapting newer technologies and newer paradigms. So I see an opportunity based on what we have done in the last 3.5 years in creating an advanced technology platform in SE2 and how the life insurance industry can leverage technologies like that. Okay, technology should be an enabler towards the business, newer business models. It should be an enabler towards newer consumer experiences. It should be an enabler for newer efficiency. So when you look at life insurance industry, it has been very much a paper-based industry. And even our technologies and the systems, our administrative systems, the back end, would capture a lot of data to pay a claim. Many of the insurance carriers, even today, have to go to 5 or 6 different systems and key in the same exact data, which in my mind, with the advancements in technology, is a pure crime. One, it creates a level of inefficiency. It compromises the quality of your transaction and quality of the data you're putting, because if you have humans put it in 5 places, chances of them making an error somewhere, and it creates a very, very bad end consumer experience and a level of, I would say, inefficiency as well in having something which could have got processed straight through in a split second now takes sometimes days to process. So I think the opportunity for this industry to completely transform and revamp. Now, one of my pet peeves is there is a need for insurance and the need for this coverage. Most is in the mid-markets where people are making salaries between $50,000 and let's say $100,000, $125,000. That is where the market is completely untapped. And the market is untapped because you don't have a real viable product which is priced right for that market. And then you don't have a real viable distribution. So as a distributor, I make commissions, and I'm better off selling a policy which is $1 million policy or $500,000 policy, than sell someone a $100,000 policy because I don't make a lot of commissions on it. So transforming, the technology has the power to transform, and it is a multi-trillion-dollar coverage market out there, which is waiting and is completely untapped because folks haven't focused on it. I am very excited that the technology now will enable this market. And whether those people will buy directly or they will buy through a traditional distributor, but we should be able to now, with the newer technologies, create newer business models and go after that market.
Excellent advice there. And I love everything. I'm so glad you came back on this podcast to share some of these insights. And for everyone listening that would like to check out that report or find SE2 online, could you just point them in the direction of how they can do that? And or equally, of course, contact your team.
So they can always come on se2.com and then www.se2.com. And there we will have, they can download a copy of the report, or they can ask a question, and we'll be happy to answer their questions as well. Or any suggestions they have, love to hear from your audience.
I'm conscious people may listen to this podcast in a year, 2, or even 1, 2, or even 3 years from now. But we're recording this in March 2020 during a global pandemic. But as an eternal optimist, I do think that people are now exploring new ways of thinking, new ways of working. And for those reasons alone, I'm not too surprised that people are also aiming to improve their health and fitness habits. And as a result, we'll go on to expect lower monthly life insurance premiums. So thanks so much for coming on and sharing the insights from that report, because I think it's so valuable moving forward. But a pleasure as always bringing you back onto the podcast, and hopefully speak to you again a little bit later in the year when everything is hopefully back to normal. Thanks again.
Absolutely. And again, Neil, it's always a pleasure talking to you, and thanks for having me on your podcast.
A big thank you to Vinod for coming back to this podcast and sharing that 85% of adults would improve their health and fitness habits, but they would expect lower monthly life insurance premiums as a result. And like I said, yes, we're going through this global pandemic at the moment, but I do think it's forcing everyone to look at the world a little bit differently. We're starting to think differently, act differently, work differently. But it does seem that gamification is becoming a real incentive for consumers to live healthier lifestyles. And as a result, the insurance industry is actually shifting to tailor coverage offerings to fit individual insurance and wellness needs, which is a pretty big shift. And predictably, the importance of creating a digital experience the customers today and the future will expect is becoming crucial. But they're just a few things that I took away from my return conversation with Vinod there. But for everybody listening, whether it's about today's interview, any topic that we've covered today, or how you're coping with the current lockdown, whatever it is, I genuinely would love to hear from every one of you listening. If I wake up tomorrow and I've got 50,000 emails in my box, that's a great problem to have, because genuinely connecting with you all, that's what it's all about. That's why I record these every day. Otherwise, I'd just be a guy sat in a room on his own talking into a microphone. And hey, nobody wants to be that guy, right? So email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Just look for me at Neil C. Hughes. But don't just follow me. Send a little note with your request. And let's get through this together. And on that note, a big thank you for listening to this podcast. Without you, this show is nothing. So it genuinely means a lot to me that you're tuning into this podcast each day. So I'll see you again bright and early tomorrow. But until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.